And the instructor knew me, and he said, "Oh yeah, go in and go check out the student work." And then about 5 minutes later, two people from two more well-known studios showed up, and he said, "Everybody, I have an announcement to make. So-and-so and so-and-so are here from such and such studios." Right? And it's like, oh, what the hell? What am I doing, chopped liver? I was actually in a position to hire students that day. And so, students were giving these guys, all the loving care and attention and treating them like they were the biggest VIPs. But you don't know who's going to be in the room. You don't know who's in a position to hire you tomorrow and who's really searching and looking. And you don't know, even if they're not in a position to search and look, you don't know who in 2 years is going to remember you from that awesome conversation you had about your Bichon Frise puppy, who really dug you and wants to hire you 2 years later who's in that position. Everybody's important. Everybody in this world is important. Don't treat anybody like an also-ran. I always think when you're talking to somebody, what's in it for that person? So don't go on about yourself all the time. This is another tip that a friend of mine, his dad gave me. He's excellent at business stuff. So when you talk to somebody, it shouldn't be like, "Check me out, I just graduated, here's my portfolio, do you have a job for me, this is what I'm really good at." Instead, try thinking like, "Oh, you have kids, I have a niece who's that age, do you like to play little people with them?" That's really what you should be doing. And business is all about solving problems. So you should find out problems that people have. So if they're not looking for an animator, but damn, they need somebody to sweep their floor, you're the guy, you're the girl, man, I can sweep your floor because I want to be around those animators. Or if you find out that they have this other bizarre problem, like they've got this rigger who's really, really good, and you want to do rigging, but they've already got the position filled, but he loves heroin, and he needs a handler to change his diaper. I don't know, this is a bizarre scenario, but you know what I mean? So you don't know what problems you can possibly solve unless you invest in somebody and ask what they're all about, and make it all about them in the conversation. So the more you learn about other people, the more you learn about their problems, and the more you learn how you can be useful to them and solve their problems. Nobody wants to hear about you all the time, or me, thank God. Turn off the sleeves. I have a couple of colleagues who run this company, and they're all business. Man, they go and they dig daddy's suit out of the closet, and they get all spickied up, and whenever they go out to things, I see them at events all the time, and they're just like, yes, next to me, here's our one sheet for this game, and this is this, and we did this, and right? And you know what, a whole day of that is just going to grind people down brutally. So, when I go into these meetings, I sit, and I don't even talk about what we do, I just shoot the breeze for a while. And strangely enough, that's the kind of person that people tend to want to work with more than, we're going to make their third quarter, blah, 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 right? In this industry, it's a creative industry, we're all fun people, and nobody wants to, work with this big, crazy stiff. Yeah, if you cut out a little of the impersonal stuff, I probably work too much personal stuff in there, but soften it up. Remember names is really important, but it's really, really difficult. I'm starting to taking pictures of people because I need to connect the name with the face. Whatever you got to do, that's kind of weird. People don't like that. Maybe don't do that. Don't miss a single opportunity. The opportunities I've been finding out in New Brunswick are far fewer than they are in Ontario. But I mean, you've taken up people on one of them. You're at Jalloo. Who's going to the game jam? Yeah. Who's not going to the game jam? Because I'm going to call you on. You dudes, are you guys students? Okay, good. Okay. Who's a student and not going to the game jam? So I'm going to get you. No? Okay, that's good. Oh, I think you have to though, don't you? Do they have to? Just the second years? Just the first years. Man, students, go to game jams. Game jams, and I'll mention it later, game jams are one of the awesomest and most coolest things you can ever possibly do, and they're very useful for your career. I'll explain more later. MIGS, anyone been to MIGS, Montreal International Game Summit? Yeah, good. It's kind of nearby, it's in Montreal. Go get Dad's van and load everybody up in it. Cool. Global game jams. There's a bunch of the stuff you don't even have to be present to participate. You can participate remotely. So you can sign up for things like the Global Game Jam. I think that might be through Take Source, and you can write that down. TIG Source is the independent game source. And you can, I think you can even do the Nordic Game Jam remotely, right? So if you love game jams and they're very, very useful, you can do that remotely. GDC is very, very expensive, and as a student, I can't even afford it. So one thing you can do is here to be at the GDC. I can't remember if they do anything for you for airfare, but you get into the conference for free. You do like half the time like standing around watching the doors, checking passes, really, really boring. And the other half of the time you can just go in and go to whatever talks you want. And you seriously, like literally be rubbing elbows with your game design heroes. So it's a fantastic opportunity to check it out. IGDA is the Independent Game Developers, International Game Developers Association. There are chapters all over the place. Does anyone know if they have one in New Brunswick? No chapter in New Brunswick. Who's, can I get a volunteer to start an IGDA chapter in New Brunswick? Someone? Anyone? No? You guys are, come on. No. Oh, okay, Martin just said before man and God that he is going to start the New Brunswick IGDA chapter. Fantastic, yeah! So that brings me to my next point, user groups. So if you don't have it, start it, right? If you don't have the opportunity, go make the opportunity. Thank God Martin kicks ass. So he's going to start that IGDA chapter for you. And what that is you get a bunch of professionals together who make games, and they can bitch and moan, and you can give them classes and tutorials and panels like the ones that you see here, just one on a Thursday night. And they can get together and they can have beers together. It's really important to be, a close-knit, cool, friendly community. They have that in the Valley. We don't have that in other places in Canada. We're growing in Toronto. It's really awesome. So you guys should have that here. Don't have it, make it, and attend everything. With a place that has fewer opportunities, you got to be everywhere. Anytime there's a user group, anytime there's something like the IGDA thing that Martin's going to set up, and I'm going to email him to find out that he's done it, go for sure. Don't miss it. Work somewhere before starting your own business. I approve that. That's what I did. Just because you'll have no idea what you're doing, and when you do work somewhere, learn as much about the financials as you possibly can. If they'll let you see any of their sheets with the numbers on it, because that's the stuff that you really don't know. If you start out on your own, how much do you charge hourly if you're freelance? And pick a number. I have no idea, right? You have no idea. So I recommend working somewhere as a spy. And taking all their good data and using it in your own business. This is mean. You are not a writer, and you're not a game designer. If you're a student. So when you talk to industry people and they say, "What do you do?" If you say, "Oh, I'm a game designer, I do game writing," you don't, and nobody's going to have any use for you if you tell them that. A better thing to do is to, do I have notes here? No. A better thing to do is to pick something that you actually excelled at in school. So if you were a good rigger, a good character rigger, fantastic. If you were great at 2D art, that's what you want to nail in on. If you're good at like AI programming, fantastic. If you really excelled at C++ and specifically interface programming in C++, right? Lock onto that so that when you're talking to an industry person, they say, what do you do? Say, I really excelled at user interface programming in C++. Way more useful than saying, I do some game design, do some game writing, because you don't. And the reason you don't is because you're a student or a recent graduate, and very rarely do students or recent graduates get to do that kind of work. You get to do that kind of work when you're like 15 years on. In small markets like this in Canada, in the Valley it's a little bit different. In the Bay Area, they actually do hire writers. Here they don't. So pick a marketable skill, something that you can sell yourself on, and try to do that. Conversation will go better. And no one can see past terrible graphics. I mentioned this to you yesterday. If you can't draw, get somebody who can draw, because nobody's going to look at your game that looks like total ass and say, oh yeah, I can see that the programming is really good. Nobody can see good programming. They're going to be blown away by fantastic graphics. Even if you're a programmer and you say, check this game out that I made, I did all the programming. They won't care unless there are sparkly effects and whizzy wings and cool like characters and some great animation. It's really, really sad, but it's true. And it's true of industry people. Industry people who have seen the process behind these games, sometimes can't see past ass graphics. So get a friend, and you guys should know tons of people at the college who are really good at art. If you don't, go look at that student art show and just pick the best person to call him or her up. There's some really good artists here, and get good graphics, because nobody cares. Especially if you're trying to find an audience. This is what our current prototype for a game looks like. That's some ass graphics right there. That sucks. So what we were doing is we were trying to find people to test our game, to tell us whether the mechanic really works. Right? We were doing surveys. We'd ask things like, what would have made you play longer? We're really specifically keying on the mechanic. So we got comments like, well, you know, maybe if you add some sound to the game, you like it? Oh yeah, sound. Oh, we never thought, yeah, sound effects and music. Oh, it never crossed our mind in a million years that you would need that in a video game. Or, you know, being sarcastic, but they were bringing up all this stuff. And then we did this, we got some art from our art team. Well, that's pretty. So we put that up, and the response was awesome. I mean, people were like, "Oh my God, I'm actually excited about this game now. It's a piece of trash that you've been showing for 3 months." So the art sells it. You know, nobody cares until it's got good art. It's sad, but true. That's some student tips. Here's some game design tips. These are really random. It's weird. Click and carry versus click and drag. This is game design tips for kids, because that's what we really focus on. Click and carry versus click and drag. A lot of people who get you to do kids games, and if you haven't done any kids games yet, it might be something that you want to look into, because Canada excels at kids stuff. We're really great at preschool stuff, and the preschool content that we make gets sold all over the world, and we're really known for that. Us in the UK are really known for it. Is that grammatically correct? We, the UK, and we, us, are. We love kids stuff, and it sells really well. So a lot of times these people with broadcast licenses will get a fund called the Bell Fund, and they'll have some money to build games around their thing. And they'll go to vendors who know how to make games, and they'll say, build some kids games for us. So, kids games tips. A lot of them ask for click and drag. They'll be like, oh, you got like little Susie, and she's got to dress up to go out into the wintertime. And what clothes do you put on her? You know, you've got summer sandals and a hat. I can't believe what we're teaching kids. Come on. Dumb does a kid have to be? So what they want you to do is hold down the mouse button and pull the thing over and drop it on the little puppet of Susie. Put the sandals on her, and that really stinks for a little kid, because little kids don't have the motor control to be able to do that. So click and drag is really not an appropriate action for a young kid. I'm talking preschool, like 4 years old. So click and carry is where they click the mouse button and the thing sticks to their mouse cursor. And they can lift their finger up and move the mouse anywhere they want, and then they click again to drop the thing. So that's a much better mechanic for little tiny kids. And I even find that with some uninitiated people and non-gamers and people who aren't used to user interfaces, click and carry is actually a better option than click and drag. When you do preschool stuff, it sounds obvious, but you need to voice over everything. Anything that's written is complete Greek. It's not even Greek because they don't know Greek because they're 4. So anything that's written absolutely has to be voiced over. This is what makes preschool stuff can be more expensive than stuff for older kids.